Hey, what's good, guys? My name is Ragujan. And we are on the question set 39. Let's read the first one. Write the relational algebra query to find the details of the brand Puma uh, product. Use brand ID as 4. Use the table where the product details are stored as the product table. So that's the question. But before going to the question, let me explain about um, these two operations, selection and the um, projection. So selection basically filters out the rows of that specific table or result, and the projection operation basically we can filter out, or we can get the specific attributes that we need from the um, table or the relation. Also, here you guys can see this is the R. This is the syntax for the selection operation, and this is the this basically says the selection, and here this is the condition, and here we have to mention this the relation or the table name. And in the projection also the same one. In this case we have to mention the column names or the attribute names that we need, and we can list it by using commas. And here in this section we have to mention the table, or we can represent uh, the selection table, or we can insert this inside this instead of this part, and this would basically give us the this also represents the table. So that's how it goes. So let's dig into the question. So the first one is we have to mention the product table. Also the condition is brand ID, so it is a selection operation. So you have to give um, to get the pi uh, to get the sigma symbol, you have to press alt and you have to print 229, and it will give you the sigma symbol. And and after that you need a bracket, and this is for the condition, and also you need another bracket, and this is for the representing the table or the relation. So I'm going to make this as a superscript, and I'm going to make this as a subscript. Yeah. So here we have to make write the condition. Here we have to mention the table. So the table is product, and the condition is brand ID is number 4. So this is the query for filtering out the rows that has the brand name as brand ID as number 4. In this case the brand ID number 4 represents the brand name Puma. So that's the answer for question 1. Now we can move on to the question 2. Here write the relational algebra query to find the details of the gender male users among the registered users. To do this, use the gender ID number 1, and use the gender table as a table store the gender of registered users. So let's answer this question. So you have to put this symbol and make it a little bigger. Let's make it a little bigger. What's the size? Why this looks small? Okay, let's figure it out later. And I'm going to make this as a subscript, and I'm going to make this as a superscript, sorry. But before making this as a subscript, we have to make sure to first of all we have to make this as a superscript. Okay, it's not working. let's write from scratch. This has to be a superscript. Okay, now this has to be a subscript. Okay, cool. And now we had to mention the condition. Before mentioning the condition, let's mention the table. So the table is user, so user, and the condition is gender id. So the gender id is going to be, in this case our gender id is going to be 1. Okay, so yeah, so this is a answer for question 2. We can move on to the question 3. So the third question is write the relational algebra query to find the details of the registered users. Gender, male, user type. Employees to do this, use 1 as the gender id, use 1 as the gender user type id, use the table stored by registered user as a user. So our table is going to be user, and our conditions are going to be gender and user type id. So first of all, I'm going to write the gender id. So let's get the symbol, and after that, now we need to and this one is for mentioning the user, and this one is for mentioning the gender id. So this is our first condition, and now and also we need to mention the second condition. Therefore I'm going to write another algebra query, another selection algebra query. So all 22, 29, and the user. In this case, I'm not going to use the user type, the user table. Instead of using the user table, I'm going to use this previous selection query. So it will basically give us the gender, this result. So this result will be considered as a table also. So I'll put this inside this, and I'm going to change the font size like this, and also change this as a superscript, and change this as a subscript. And now we can write our next condition. It is the user type. The user type is going to be number 1, and I'm going to change this font size and make it as a subscript. Okay, cool. So this is the answer for question 3. So now let's move on to the question 4. Here, write the relational algebra query to find the details about the products whose brand is DSI and Bata. To do this, use 1 as the ID of the DSI brand and 2 as the ID of the Bata brand. Use the product details stored as a product table. So our table is going to be product, and there are 2 conditions, so we can use the AND operator. Anyway, so let's move on. So I'm going to use the symbol, and this one is for our this for mentioning the this for representing the our table name, so the product. And the next one we had to mention the condition. So the conditions, there are 2 conditions. So brand ID is DSI, and in this case our brand ID 1, and brand ID brand name is Bata. So by the Bata, the brand ID 2 represents the brand name Bata. So brand ID 2. So yeah, So that's how it goes. Now we can uh, now we have to rearrange it, make this as a superscript and make this as a subscript, and this is the answer for question 4. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.